New Balance is the brand that doesn't stop rising these days. Far from coming out of nowhere, this legendary brand had already proved its worth with amazing models such as the 990, the 574, and the 576. But in modern times, New Balance has opted for a surprising but successful strategy, taking forgotten models or flops and turning them into modern-day successes through prestigious collaborations like Nike does with the Dunk. And the sneaker that launched this wave of modernism is the New Balance 327, inspired by the very origins of the brand. You understood it. Today and for the next few weeks, we'll be talking about the incredible world of New Balance, and we'll be talking about the present and the future. Let's go! The New Balance 327 is inspired by the origins of the brand and its first iconic models, which is why, before we talk about it, we need to go back in time. In 1972, after 10 years of loyal service, Eleanor and Paul Kidd sold New Balance to James S. Davis, a 28-year-old American businessman who wanted to make a quick profit from his business, but was determined to continue upholding the brand's values of quality and innovation. He hired many more people to make many more pairs, and it took just 3 years for the brand to spread around the world, as Tom Fleming won the New York Marathon with the New Balance 320, which for the first time featured the famous New Balance N that became the brand's emblem for absolutely all models. Voted Running Shoe of the Year by Runner's World magazine, it was released to the general public in 1976, followed by the 355 with a notched sole you already recognize, and the Super Comp with an upper, very similar to the 320. Back to present. Well, now that I've told you all that, do you know Dragon Ball Z? Yes, of course you know this franchise, but what does New Balance have to do with Dragon Ball Z? Here we are, the New Balance 327. This pair is the perfect blend of the 320 and the Super Comp Uppers, and it also features the famous 355's notched outsole. It has directly seduced sneaker addicts a lot with its dad shoe shape adapted to the modern era, as well as its outsole that runs up the back of the foot, a very original feature that we practically never see on new models. It's also ultra elegant with its mix of mesh and suede leather, and the N oversized is perfectly embedded in the shoe's design. Advertised as a basic women's pair, it turns out to be a totally unisex pair, as men have flocked to it because of its massive shape. Created by Charlotte Lee, this model quickly raised the brand's hype among sneaker addicts, but also its resale prices for many of its models. However, it wasn't just the shape and design that made this model so popular. New Balance also opted for a masterstroke. Okay, first of all, what's Casablanca? Founded in 2018 by Sharaf Tajer, a French-Moroccan designer, it's a very exotic luxury streetwear brand that draws inspiration from the designer's origins while blending them with Parisian luxury. The brand is an homage to his childhood summers spent in Morocco. But this designer is far from being unknown because he already founded the Pigalle brand in 2008, which you should know, with Stéphane Ashpool. This brand has been worn by renowned stars like Rihanna and A$AP Rocky. He also managed the club Le Pompon in Paris for 7 years, and as a sign of destiny, it was here that the legend Virgil Abloh played his first DJ set. Now back to Casablanca. Comfortable yet chic, this brand didn't immediately take off until a fashion show in January 2020. A model walks on stage wearing a totally new pair of New Balance 327. The eyes of the world were riveted on this pair, which immediately seduced the fashion world. Kendall Jenner, Katie Holmes, Jamie Chung, many stars wore this new model before it was finally released to the public in April 2020. The pair is inspired by the tennis club feel that Sharaf Tajer wanted to give to his brand, but also by Morocco, with patterns that directly remind us of the designer's origins. With its white, green, and orange tones, its first two colors were propelled into the spotlight in a few days, and its resales price took off with it, with prices tripling for its first models. And remember, we're talking about New Balance, a brand that until 2020 had almost completely left the resale market, contrary to Yeezy or Nike. That's phenomenal. But what we can ask ourselves is, will it last? Casablanca has continued to release new 327 colorways in 2021, like the red monogram and the holy green. In total, 6 colorways from this collab have been released. And just looking at the resale, it's super reassuring for New Balance but also Casablanca. Of course, the resale price isn't as high as for the first ones, but it's still high despite the existence of 6 colorways, and releasing 6 colorways from the same collaboration is super dangerous to maintain the hype. In general, if a brand manages to do that and keep the hype going, we can consider that it's likely to last. Also, New Balance released countless colorways for the 327 in parallel, including a collaboration with the Californian artist Joshua Vides. And some of them have done very well, even without the help of collabs like the Blue Yellow or the Dark Blaze. I don't know what you think, but it's looking good for this model. Add to that the brand's current hype, which appeals to both old and new generations. But what if I told you that the 327 was just the beginning of New Balance's new era? Patience. We're only at the start of a new beginning and perhaps a future legend, but we'll see about that another time.